Welcome to episode number 71 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I am here with Jaden Daly, recapping the second round of the NCAA Tournament from Brooklyn, New York. And there's been a lot of good stuff, especially in this region. And I'm excited to hear what Jaden's thoughts are.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. Thank you so much for having me on.
What were your takeaways from the Duke James Madison game?
Well, I think that was more of an expression for Duke in terms of what the Blue Devils can be, what they're capable of. I think it was clearly the best performance that this team has had. There were a lot of question marks surrounding John Shire's team and whether or not it would be able to advance in the NCAA tournament after last year getting knocked out early by Tennessee, and this year matched up against a 13 seed in Vermont that was definitely capable of pulling off the upset, and they kept it close. They were only down 6 points at about 7 minutes to go before Duke's defense dug in and found the way to win the game. And then against James Madison, Jared McCain just set the tone with some big 3-point shots early. He had 30 points on the day and 8 3-pointers for the game. It was more of a statement for Duke in terms of what it could do in the later rounds of the tournament. I'm very interested to see what they do against Houston in the Sweet 16 with more performances like the one they gave on Sunday. It's not out of the question to say this team could be a Final Four contender.
I saw that Jared McCain had 22 of his 30 points in the first half, and I feel like he's definitely going to be the one to keep an eye on, especially against of the power firehouse in Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to see how Duke is able to transition back on the defensive end against a Houston team that has been all year one of the best defenses in the nation, and trying to stop Jamal Shed and LJ Cryer, the two guards for the Cougars. I think if Houston dictates tempo, the game is right where they want it, but Duke has to come out firing like they did on Sunday.
And on the other side of things, UConn absolutely crushed Northwestern 75-58, and Tristan Newton and Donovan Clannon definitely were a big effect for the Huskies. And what were your takeaways on this one?
Yeah, UConn did what UConn normally does. The concern that I have, though, with the Huskies is they let Northwestern back into the game for a little bit in the second half before reestablishing themselves and pulling way down the stretch. But for the most part, for most of the day, UConn was just simply far better. And that's been the case for most teams against UConn this season, between Tristan Newton, as you mentioned. Donovan Clingan had a double-double in the first half alone and almost had a triple-double, 14 points, 14 rebounds, 8 blocked shots. If UConn can continue to be aggressive on both ends of the floor, and they want, the biggest thing to me, Alex, was they won on Sunday without really doing much from the 3-point line. They were only 3 for 22 from 3. And you look at what UConn has offensively between Newton, Cam Spencer, and Alex Caravan, 3 high-quality shooters, all of whom had off nights. So it was really Clingan and Newton doing their damage from inside the arc. If UConn can be competitive and be aggressive on both sides, I don't think anybody's going to beat them.
What are your thoughts on the Sweet 16 matchups?
I think UConn and San Diego State is a very intriguing matchup. Obviously, it's a rematch of last year's national championship, and San Diego State will go as far as Jaden Daly takes them. He was very instrumental in the 2 games against UAB and Yale. My concern with the Aztecs is they haven't been really tested, and that's what they're going to run into on Thursday in Boston when they take on UConn. Iowa State, Illinois follows that game, and that's going to be a very big game. Might be the game of the weekend between Taman Lipsey of Iowa State and Terrence Shannon of Illinois. And some of the other regionals, Houston and Duke, we outlined that a little bit just a couple minutes ago. Houston with its defense and Duke with its offensive firepower that was shown on Sunday. I think Marquette should win rather easily against NC State on the other side of that regional. Then when we move into the Midwest, Purdue takes on Gonzaga. That should be a fun game. I'd love to see how Graham Ike can hold his own against Zach Edey. They played each other earlier in the regular season in Maui, so Gonzaga is probably looking for revenge there. Creighton and Tennessee is going to be an interesting game as well. You have Dalton Connect of Tennessee going up against Creighton's big three of Ryan Kalkbrenner, Baylor Shireman, and Trey Alexander, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the country. He doesn't get enough respect next to Kalkbrenner and Shireman. And then in the West, I think North Carolina and Alabama will be a shootout. I think the first one to 85 in that game will win. Both teams can put up numbers offensively. My concern for Alabama is whether or not it can play enough defense to match up with Carolina and contain the Tar Heels, who are a much more proficient defensive team. And I think Arizona, with a quasi-home crowd in Los Angeles, gets the better of Clemson.
These matchups are overly intriguing, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to each and every one of them. And thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully I will definitely have you back on.
My pleasure, Alex. Happy to help you out.
Thank you.